Greetings, I'm Pillar Nexus, the Ancient Gladiator, with a special episode of Pillar Loves Tabletop Games. And today, I bring you Fallout. Post-nuclear board game for 1 to 4 players. This game being solo playable is part of what sold me on it. But also I have a little bit of fun with the Fallout verse. But I'm going to play the first game a little bit. So, in this game, you'll be playing as characters, represented with plastic models, and you'll be trying to gather influence by having agenda cards and accomplishing the goals on them. So, for example, the more common ones include freedom and security, where you'll get influence for every point of distance between the two factions. So let's say it's like that, then each one that you have is going to be worth 2 plus the base 1. So you're adventuring through this world, this broken down world. Meanwhile, a power struggle is going on, and you're trying to get enough influence to be victorious before the power struggle comes to a conclusion. Now, if it comes to an end and you have enough influence, then you still win. It's possible to have multiple winners, but it's actually kind of rare. So yeah, you'll have your character with whatever they start with. Super Mutant starts with a special card that makes them a Super Mutant. The Vault Dweller starts with the Vault Suit. It gives them better defense. And what else? They can combine it with the what other armor they can find. They can also use it to get a bonus reroll when testing endurance. And then everybody starts with caps. Money. Red ones are worth 1. Their blue ones worth 5. You can make changes as needed. So, the start of the scenario, the map will be set up. So this is welcome to the Commonwealth. So it'll say stage number. So there's this gigantic card library that you're not supposed to be going through, and reading ahead of time. And all the cards are numbered, and whenever something calls for a numbered card, that's what you're looking for, is through there. So it'll stage a card, it'll set up the map, so these will be random while certain things are set. There'll be faction tokens already out. There might even be quest markers for stuff like wrecked vertebrates. And yeah, you'll get an idea of what the factions are based on this. So the Freedom faction is the Railroad, while the Security faction is the Institute. And when these faction markers are on the board, they represent the appropriate opponent. You can avoid having to fight them by being loyal. Yeah. And then they will get more powerful as the game goes on. So yeah, one of the things I like doing is having an extra card underneath, and then just put one token on each track. So yeah, you'll have the scenario. You have your character. Your character starts with an ability, a stat special to them. Like luck is for the Vault Dweller. Strength is for the Super Mutant. They'll also get a bonus token as well. Alright. And then the game will start with the first player. The first player is the one holding on to the agenda deck. And then you'll get 2 actions before you do your end of the turn stuff. So you can move, which gets you 2 movement points. It costs 1 movement to go from one space to the other space. It costs 2 movement to go into difficult terrain. You're allowed to use both your movement actions to just pool your movement points together. Give you like 4 movements to get over a hill in the way. And then Explorer, because you can't just move blindly into the terrain. So Super Mutant's going first, so he's going to explore. Okay. Now, if there are any enemy symbols, like there are most here, we get a face-up token. So Explorer. This is radioactive. So when you take health damage, your HP drops. When you take radiation, it increases. Where the 2 meet, your character dies. So the less, and then when you respawn, you'll get your health back. You'll be at the crossroad cramps, but your radiation stays the same. If you ever max out radiation, your character is completely dead, and you'll have to take a new one. And if that's happening, it's probably too late. So Explorer's gonna open that up, and then movement. Let's say I'll just move there. Fight. There's currently no PvP fight options in this one, but when you actually go to fight, let's say let's have something easy. All right, let's say those 2 are fighting. So what you're trying to do is you need to hit the lit up locations that many times. It's other special ability. So for combat, you'll have the VATS dice, and you'll roll them. Okay. If you have any rerolls, so one of the stat things you can have in the game is being well rested, which you get from camping. You can burn that if you have it, and reroll. So let's say it was well rested. Let's reroll those ones. Okay, a little bit better. Other ways that rerolls can happen is if you have a weapon that has an ability that you have. So let's say I have this. When it's fighting at ranged, I could get the reroll off of the A. If I also had P, I could get the reroll off the P as well. Yeah, every matching letter will get you that 1 reroll you can spend on any number of dice. Let's see. And then we resolve enemy hits. So no matter what happens, I'm taking that 1 hit. and every hit is worth that much damage. So this is a one damage. These guys will do 3 when they hit. And then because Red Roach is radioactive, the enemy hits you for any amount of damage, suffer adds equal to the enemy's level. So I take 1. Ow. But because I'm a super mutant, every radiation I suffer gets me an XP. So move me to the S. And then you compare how many things match up to the lit up sections. So there's 2, which is more than enough to kill that guy. So you'll get that much experience, which is 1. So when you go experience, you move from this first slot to the first space that has a token, then to the next space that has a token. And then if there's no token after that, then it goes back around and you'll level up. When you level up, what you will do is you'll reach into the bag of the box of randomly mixed up tokens, and you will take 2 of them. You then have the option to choose one or the other. If it is a new token, it goes into your slot, and it takes you more XP to level up. If you take a token for a stat you already have, then what you get is a perk. There's currently in the base game 2 perks for every stat. So for agility, you get action, girl, /boy, or sneak. And that will go in front of me until I decide to use it. If there are no perks of that stat left, then you can take a perk for a stat you do have. And if there are no perks for those, then you're just SOL. Defeating the enemy. So if you were fighting an enemy that spawned on a certain point, when they are defeated, there will be a new one to replace it, but it'll be face down. In this state, it is an inactive and doesn't count as being present. So you can safely do stuff like encounters, quest, and camp. Oh yeah. So speaking of encounters, so you'll see like the symbol and a number. Symbol and number. When you encounter, you'll take that appropriate deck and encounter it. So this is wilderness. It's been shuffled up before the game. And you'll read, and the player next to you will read off the top the description of the scenario, of what's happening, and then they'll read off the options. And so for this one, there's a potential enemy encounter. And then the card will either be trashed, which will put it out of the game until the game is over, or if not, it'll wind up on the bottom of the deck. So my options were rush in and kill the critters, send them after someone else, or grab something and run. Let's say I went grab something and run. I move a space. I'll scale loot. Loot cards. Okay. And quests. So at the start of the game, there'll be this card staged. This symbol is a quest. You have to be in Diamond City. You have to not have an enemy present. So my super mutant would have to fight this guy. It's a institute synth in order to do that. Now my vault dweller, if he reveals his security, can go there and do that with no problem. But why would he want to when that doesn't help his faction? The other path along this is killing any human, which will get more security. So whenever you complete the quest in question, well, let's say that we defeated that guy. So we quest Diamond City. So we'll follow the steps. Freedom will go up a step, and you'll get a couple loot cards. And you'll get stuff. It'll stage new cards for the scenario. So it'll stage 16 and 67. That's 17. And 67 was like Vault Rumors. So yeah, as the scenario goes on, there'll be more opportunities to do things like discover other vaults or assemble a survival manual or go get this kick-ass hammer. So whenever cards get added, as I said, add 17, you look at what type it is, you'll take the top cards of that type equal to the number of players in the game, mix them together. I'm still getting cards loose for this game. I don't care how much it costs me to get many cards loose. Damn it. I'll go on top. So next time someone does Wilderness Encounter, there's a chance of finding that thing and encountering it. And then finally there's camp. There's recover 3 HP, become well rested, and trade with other survivors if no enemy is present. So 2 people in the same spot with things they want to trade can trade them. Okay. Let's see here. I believe in order to actually shop at a place, you have to actually go through the encounter. So, yeah. Or can you just shop without having to deal with the encounter? It has been a little while. Shop, shop, shop. Encounter. Yeah. So then, yeah, the only way to properly shop from the settlement is to actually go through the encounter and deal with what other crazy silliness might have you go through. When you shop, what you'll do is you'll take the top card of the asset deck and then flip it face up to the left of everything else. You then have this many shopping actions. A shopping action lets you acquire a companion if you meet the stats. So for this one, you have to be idolized. You can buy an item if you have the caps, and assets are freaking expensive. Good luck at getting the money. Or you can sell an item at 1 cheaper. than you paid than it costs, which will put it into the discard pile. When the shopping action is over, it reconciles to four cards. So if nothing but got bought out of this, there goes right away. If two of the items were bought, then an extra card gets added. So the items, you have apparel, which you're limited to one of, with the exception of the vault suit. Weapons, which include both usual weapons and guns. Anything with a ranged icon lets you start combat from an adjacent space, and if they don't have a gun, then you'll get an extra hit. Otherwise, they can shoot back, no problem. It also gives you some defense with others who try to shoot you. There are ranged enemies in this game. They're scary to think about. So yeah, apparel, weapons, companions. You can only have one companion. It requires a stat to get them, and you can exhaust your stuff. Normally, when you unexhaust stuff, when you camp, there'll be certain things you'll have to do in the process. So if you're already hurting when you camp, and you unexhaust them, you get to keep them. Otherwise, if you're in good health, they go away. And finally, there's your inventory, which is limited to 3 cards. If you ever have more than you can carry, you're going to have to discard down before you can do anything else. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Players will explore, encounter, fight, shop, try to push their faction towards the end. So, Super Mutant go first, then the Vault Dweller. So that's one round. At the end of the round, we flip up the agenda card. And all this stuff moves. Factions move towards enemy players. They're not going to move to their own loyalists, of course. And then enemies are just going to move to whoever's closer. If there's unexplored terrain between them and the closest, this counts as 1. Counts as 2. So, and anything that's face down is not going to be flipped up. They're not going to do anything else. Some enemies are aggressive. They like to fight as soon as people move into their space or they move into someone else's space. So, there's that. Once the agenda deck has been cleared, the last card has been pulled, the enemies have been moved. Each faction moves 1 more space down, and then the deck gets shuffled and then passed to the other player. There, I get to use it. And then eventually, as the game's going on, somebody will hit the bottom of the power track. If a faction would go further, then they count as having gone all that distance. So you can basically push the other one back for figuring out how much the agendas were worth. And then either one player, at least one player, will have enough influence to end the game, to win the game, or nobody will. And it'll end in a loss for everybody. So, a little helpful guide here. 1 player, 11 influence. 2 players, 10. 3 players, 9. 4 players, 8. And I believe that's it. The only other things are quest markers. I believe I've gone over the stats. Synth, super mutant, idolized, vilified, well rested, and addicted. So yes, there are drug items in this game, mainly through like loot and all that. And if you end up failing the test, endurance test, you end up addicted. When you're addicted, you can't be well rested because you are now locked into that state. And then you have to keep spending your caps on that shit. Yeah, it'll just, as the game goes on, you'll just get better and more stuff, and you'll have a clearer idea of what you're trying to achieve. And then there's the new California expansion, which makes bigger versions of these maps. And also introduces 2 new scenarios, one of which is fully cooperative. The Atomic Bonds expansion also exists. I made the mistake of giving up on my copy of Fallout before getting that, and I wish I had held on to it and gotten the Atomic Bonds, because a fully cooperative Fallout experience, I think, would be a big improvement. Yeah, the whole agenda system is the one thing that just kind of bugs me a little bit. It was really feeling like an adventure, and now the whole agenda thing makes it feel like a game. Yeah. And then you're kind of rushing against time to deal with the scenario. All this other side stuff's coming up, and it feels like there's not enough time to make the most of it. Especially as the agenda deck gets smaller because people are getting them. But you know what? I still love this game anyway, because it is a fun adventure. I like the setting. I like the characters that come with the expansion. That's one thing I miss. That's one thing I do miss. And it brings back a lot of fun memories of the World of Warcraft adventure game with its factions and its craziness. If I did, the thing is, World of Warcraft board game is like massive, and there's like this game is a little bit better space wise, I think. This size of maintaining your stats and everything, compared to the player boards for the World of Warcraft board game, which were about that big. Yeah, definitely better on space. This map takes up less space than the Lordaeron map as well. And yeah, there's 4 scenarios to play through in the base game, which is something. And the map will be different, even with the same scenario. There's a lot of stuff to discover. Whether it's just open terrain and an enemy, or something special. I like the whole. I also like the experience idea of you can try to do this low level craziness, so you can try to get more perks. Or you can try to fill it out so you can cover all your bases. Because there'll be things that require tests. Oh yeah, that's what I forgot to bring up was the tests. Let's say the super mutant is taking a test that, and the test is difficulty 4, but it also has S, A, and E for whatever, or S, E, and A. I've got the S and I've got the A, so I've got my basic roll, 2 rerolls to hit 4. If I was well rested, I would get another one. So there's 3 dots. So I got 1 reroll, 2 rerolls. There we go. Well, let's try to reroll the ones just to make sure I can get that possibility of the 2. So there's 4 dots, which means I passed the test. Yeah. Have I missed anything else? Yeah. Armor, every point of armor knocks out one hit when in combat. You know what? It's even with the issues, it's still an interesting game. There are some. This is a first print run game where there are some misspellings. One of the loot cards is misspelled. I believe Preston Garvey, wherever he is, features the wrong vault number. Where is he? Where is that dude? Boy. There's that here. Please, loot card. Oh yeah, there's the loot deck, which is filled with all sorts of random stuff. From magazines and just straight up money and junk. You can combine 2 junk cards together to take anything from a discard pile from loot or assets, which is pretty nice. There it is. Preston Garvey. There's not a Vault 68. There's no Vault 68 in this game. There's 84 and there's 109. But anyway. Oh, and one of the freaking cards in here in the library. Remember, if you're going to feature a gigantic robot that spouts out propaganda, make sure you've gotten the propaganda words in the right order. Yeah. I've seen someone else with a second print run of this game where they actually corrected that. So, thank goodness. Yeah, Fallout the board game. It'll be entertaining for sure. If I have to put this on my tier list, that's right. I'm going to put it on the tier list immediately. In my heart. I will give it a mostly positive. I've messed with enough adventure games, and so many of them are just fantasy, or it's a historical adventure of Great Western Trail. You know, there aren't enough sci-fi adventure games. I guess Infamy kind of comes close, but that's more about acquisition of resources and stuff. Android is kind of an adventure, but it's also crazy ass long and complicated at points. For an adventure game that doesn't take place in some crazy magic land or historical setting, Fallout is a good game. I give it a mostly positive. Alright, this has been Pillar Nexus Ancient Gladiator. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.